What up? It's your boy T-Bear in the Reaction, and today's Wrestling Wednesday, so I got time to at least do just one more video, because I was kind of hoping to do it anyway. Like I said, I got to push the RC99 most, oh my god, wrestling highlights to another time as well, or two, or probably sometime this week. But anyway, we're going to check this video from Cultaholic. This is 10 famous match stipulations that never was used in WWE. So, you know, WCW had a lot of great inventions of crazy matches as well, too. Only if very little of them went over to the either WWE or AEW, very little into WWE, one of them being the War Games. But other than that, though, they had some other ones such as War World, and I forgot what we called that Triple Change match, that was well too, and many others. So we're gonna check out 10 famous match stipulations never used in WWE that might be for me WCW or in any place else, any other company as well too, such as Ultimate X with Impact Wrestling. So let's get it. And of course the death matches, of course. Of course, you can't forget about them. Anyway, let's get it. I'm gonna change the quality on this one too, because it's about to be blurry. All right, at least put 360 stuff. But anyway, it's not starting.
WWE has come up with some incredible match stipulations over the years. The Royal Rumble, the Elimination Chamber, Money in the Bank, and who could forget the thrill ride that was the Punjabi Prison.
I know it's like
legendary, one and all.
And you can't. I know I'm gonna pause because to give it a little time to load up, but can't really forget about that monstrosity.
Sometimes the company borrows ideas from other places, as we've seen recently with the introduction of War Games on the main roster. However, the following stips may have proven popular in other promotions, but have yet to make an appearance for the big dub. I'm Adam Pacitti from Cultaholic Wrestling, and these are 10 famous match stipulations never used in WWE. Join us. Number 10, the Triple Cage Match.
Yep, Triple Cage, yep.
Anyone who has seen the WCW tie-in movie, Ready to Rumble, will know that a triple-decker steel cage is used during the final act. Yep. Well, that's if anyone has ever made it to the end of that film, that is. Whilst Jimmy King may not be a real wrestler, the Triple Cage Match is most certainly a real stipulation. At 1988's Great American Bash, 2 teams of 5 wrestlers were put into a Tower of Doom, a match that could only be won by climbing down through all 3 cages to the floor. At Uncensored 1996, Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage defeated 8 heels in the so-called Doomsday Cage, which was so bad I wish the world really had ended. Then there was the main event of Slamboree 2000, a triple threat triple cage match between Jeff Jarrett, Diamond Dallas Page, and reigning world champion David Arquette. WWE have never attempted to use 3 cages at once, presumably because they saw those last 2 WCW matches and were a bit scared off. The closest they ever got was when they surrounded a regular cage with the Hell in a Cell at Unforgiven 1999 for the infamous Kennel from Hell. Barking mad. Number 9, Bunkhouse.
Kennel for Hell was the Bunkhouse Stampede, yup.
Though the first televised Royal Rumble match didn't happen until 1988, similar formats were already in use by other companies. Between 1985 and 88, the NWA ran an annual mega match called the Bunkhouse Stampede. This was about as southern wrestling as you could possibly get, as the competitors were allowed, nay, encouraged to wear cowboy boots, hats, and as much denim as they could physically handle.
Oh my god, are you serious?
The idea was to evoke images of a brawl breaking out on a ranch with all
so pretty much a street fight Royal Rumble.
Various cowboys getting involved in any way they could. This gave rise to perhaps the Stampede's most infamous quality, its heavy use of weapons. Wrestlers could bring their own signature tools to the ring and use them to wreak as much havoc as possible. We're talking straps, spikes, cowbells, chains, you name it, someone was gonna get hit by one. As a result, bunkhouse stampedes were usually incredibly bloody and violent affairs, which might be why WWE have never done one. Also, this match represents the pinnacle of
they haven't went to the hardcore division yet.
McMahon was trying to erase from wrestling in the 1980s, so he's probably just very happy to let it gather dust. Number 8, the Flaming Tables Match. Whilst we've seen plenty of tables matches in WWE, we have never witnessed one where the hardware simply had to be on fire before a wrestler got put through it. This mad match type found a home in, where else, ECW, during the peak of that promotion's powers. Only one such match found its way onto pay-per-view when Balls Mahoney and Chilly Willy took on the Baldies at November to Remember 2000. Mahoney and Chilly won, by the way, and no, I'm not saying their other names, it's just juvenile. Willy Balls. Though it's never been the specific objective of a match to use one, flaming tables have not been totally absent from WWE. The most famous example has to be during Edge and Mick Foley's match at WrestleMania 22, where the Rated R superstar speared the hardcore legend through one off the ring apron. And you know what? Because such a spectacle is so rare in WWE, the iconic quality of the Edge Foley moment was preserved. Considering that the company has been PG for quite a while now, do not expect burning wood to return anytime soon.
Of course not.
Number 7, the Scaffold Match. In theory, there's nothing wrong with a scaffold match. Two wrestlers or teams of wrestlers
I kind of remember this. I never saw it, but I never actually sit down and watch it, but I remember hearing something about this.
One to throw their opponent or opponents off the top. It's dangerous, but it's visually interesting. What more could you possibly want? Well, I guess to actually see the wrestlers for a start. The Scaffold Match has long been criticised for making it very hard for crowds both at home and in person to witness the action as it unfolds. They also severely limit how much work participants can do, the bulk of the offense in them being punches and kicks, as well as being needlessly risky for very little reward. During a match at the NWA Starrcade 1986 between the Road Warriors and the Midnight Express, Jim Cornette fell from the scaffolding and managed to tear all the ligaments in one of his knees. No wonder he's so grumpy all the time. And hey, let's not even bring up the death-defying escapades of New Jack and Vic Grimes. Really is no wonder WWE have never touched this one. Number 6, King of the Mountain / Reverse Battle Royal. We are lumping these two together.
Whoa! They kind of did it in NXT. Their little, whatever that match they had, they kind of did it in NXT in a way. So yeah.
As A, they're both TNA / Impact Wrestling specialities, and B, they both involve taking a regular match construct and flip reversing it. A reverse battle royal is quite simple. Wrestlers start outside the ring and attempt to get back into it, before then attempting to throw the opponents that made it back straight out again. It made its debut on an episode of Impact in 2006, and was then awarded Worst Match of the Year by the Wrestling Observer, to give you an idea of how well it went. As for the King of the Mountain, it's essentially a reverse ladder match where you have to hang something up instead of pulling it down, but there are also a bunch of other rules that make my head hurt just thinking about them. Something about a penalty box? I don't know, you'd have to ask Jeff Jarrett, Slapnut. Whilst you have to admire their creativity, both of these sticks have a whiff of if it ain't broke, don't fix it about them. Both are clunky at best and downright messy at worst, and aren't even used that often by the promotion that created them. Number 5, Monsters Ball. Another Impact speciality now, and one that belongs to a certain monstrous performer. Abyss worked for TNA for 17 years, winning multiple titles.
I wouldn't be surprised he kind of shot that deal in WWE, because you know he works for WWE now.
Including the NWA World's Heavyweight Championship. Serving as a kind of amalgamation of The Undertaker, Kane, and Mankind, Abyss's character was one of an unhinged psychopath who was willing to endure unbearable suffering to get his hands on his opponents. This tied in perfectly with his signature hardcore match type, where the competitors were kept in a darkened room with no food or water for 24 hours beforehand. That's all kayfabe, by the way. Or perhaps TNA actually couldn't afford the catering bill and this was a clever cover. Anyway, Abyss appeared in 49 Monsters Ball matches, more than 4 times more than anybody else. Even after he left the company, they've still used the stipulation on multiple occasions. Chris Park, the man behind the Abyss gimmick, has actually worked for WWE as a producer since 2019, so it is entirely possible that a variation of Monsters Ball could turn up in the promotion one day.
Like I said, I won't be surprised he's trying to shoot the idea. They might make it a PG safe version of it, but still.
I mean, if Rey Mysterio can have his eye removed in a match, then the whole suspension of disbelief argument is kind of over, you know? Number 4, the Ultimate X Match. Our TNA trilogy concludes with perhaps the promotion's most famous and celebrated creation. Apart from Aces and Eights, obviously. Those guys ruled. A major selling point during the early days of TNA was its X division, which was designed to fill the gap left by ECW and WCW's cruiserweights. This division was all about high-flying, high-impact moves and was initially populated by the likes of Low-Ki, Jerry Lynn, and AJ Styles. The Ultimate X match is considered the crowning achievement of the X Division concept. Two cables are suspended 15 feet in the air so they form the shape of an X. Oh, I get it now. An object, sometimes a title belt, sometimes a big red cross, is hung in the middle of the X, and it's up to the participants to retrieve it without using a ladder. American Gladiators, eat your bloody heart out.
Yep.
There have been 49 different Ultimate X matches since its 2003 debut, with some being great and others being that one where the X kept falling down.
Yeah, I remember
there are plenty of
that.
WWE stars who could work wonders in this sort of environment, but it's unlikely that the company would ever ape something.
They can't do that because that's pretty much Impact's own little thing for the X Division. But I can see some guys, some WWE eating this a matchup alive. Top one being Ricochet for sure,
Something
man.
so synonymous with its former competitor.
If Ali get picked up, I would love to see him, man, in the Ultimate X match for real.
Number 3, the exploding barbed wire death match. There have been plenty of variations of the make the ring explode match
some good ones, but
over the years, including something called the anus explosion death match from front.
The anus exploding death match. Okay.
Tier martial arts wrestling.
Be honest, we don't.
The objective there was to stick a firework up your opponent's bum and then set it off.
Why are we doing that?
Should have just called it a normal Friday night match. Am I right, lads? Lads? An exploding barbed wire death match is where the ring ropes have been covered by or replaced with the spiky stuff and also set to explode every time someone touches them. Mick Foley and Terry Funk had a version of this match in 1995 that has gone down in hardcore wrestling history. The version from AEW Revolution 2021? Sure, but for a different reason. The first mainstream exploding barbed wire death match in a long time went from historical to hysterical when the planned explosion at the end failed to go off, leaving everyone looking a bit confused and incredibly silly. This error means that the stipulation now has a bit of a black mark against its name, which is just another reason why we'll probably never see one happen in a WWE ring. Also, something tells me that sponsors wouldn't be thrilled at the idea of kids watching their favorite superstars get blown up either. Number 2, the coal miner's glove match.
Ooh,
for the uninformed, a coal miner's glove is a leather welding glove with a steel bar across the knuckles. One day, a wrestler saw one and went, that would look great dangling from a giant pole. Thus, the coal miner's glove match was born, and it would go on to be one of the most feared match types in the territory days of wrestling. The glove was so powerful that one punch was enough to knock somebody out, which is why the only way to get hold of one was to shimmy up a huge strut. WCW ran one of these matches as the main event of Halloween Havoc 1992, pitting Sting against Jake the Snake Roberts. When the Stinger hit Roberts with the glove, it forced him to shove a snake into his own face, which is how he lost the match. And some people still thought wrestling was real back then. WWE have never put on a coal miner's glove match, although they did give the world the coal miner's nightstick match between the Big Boss Man and Test on a 1999 episode of Raw. Don't get your hopes up, it was just a nightstick on a pole match. Number 1, World War III.
Yeah, I heard about
WWE
this.
has borrowed a lot of things from WCW over the years. War games, the Great American Bash, nonsensical storylines with no payoff. But one thing they've never taken from them is the concept of World War III.
That was a wild match.
From 1995 to 1998, WCW held an enormous 3-ring, 60-man battle royal at a November pay-per-view named after this insane match type. Though the first one was for the WCW World Heavyweight Championship, later incarnations rewarded its winner with a title shot at Starrcade. Sort of sounds like WCW were the ones doing the stealing here. Even in their wildest Saudi Arabian dreams, WWE have never done an over-the-top rope match with this many people. They've also never done a match type with 3 rings, despite owning the rights to World War III since 2001. So, why is this? Perhaps it's because WWE are happy to stick to the Royal Rumble concept. Or perhaps it's because a match with 60 people in it at the same time is an unwatchable mess. Who's
Yeah,
to say?
it'd be too
But
much.
whatever the reason, we may never see World War III again.
Yeah, it been too much going on for that, man. I will say that. It's definitely too much. Yeah, so other than that, this was a good video to watch as well, too. So if you like my reaction, like, share, subscribe my YouTube channel. It's your boy T-Bear signing off. One love.